at the end of the day, if the church doesn't disciple people, somebody else will. The devil is happy to disciple your people. Wow. You know, when you watch your screen and you see views on YouTube, those are not views, they're people, right? And when you post something and you see the comments, they're not just comments, they're like souls. What it is today is like the new Mars Hill of our time.
Hi, welcome to the Rodcast, where we talk about innovative missions with Pastor Rod and team. And I'm Monty Plummer, and I'm here today with an amazing guest, Pastor Carlos Erazo.
Pastor Monty, thank you for having me.
Amazing. So stoked to have you guys in Tokyo with us right now.
Man, this is fun. I honestly, this was not in my bingo card this year to be in Tokyo with you guys, and so it's great.
Amazing. And so you are the digital ministries pastor of Lakepointe Church, right?
Yes, that's it.
Fantastic. And you've been in this role for about
5 years, more or less. So Lakepointe Church, Dallas, Texas, and back in America.
Hey, America.
America, yeah. Although I'm not originally from there.
Hey, where are you
I was
originally from?
born and raised in El Salvador. But then I've been in the U.S. for now 15 years.
Wow.
So,
do you think in Spanish or English?
I think a little bit of both.
Oh,
it's weird because obviously, we have a almost 3-year-old, and so we're trying to teach him both.
Nice.
But yeah, what about you? You think in English or?
I think in English.
Yeah. But your Japanese is pretty good.
I can have conversations in Japanese, but I don't think or dream in Japanese.
No. Okay.
So yeah, it's lots of fun.
When you pray, do you ever pray
in English?
Never in Japanese?
No, I usually avoid praying in Japanese. Oh, really? Yeah, there's extra words I feel like you need. But, so I'm not confident enough to pray in Japanese.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we have lots of fun, and we're talking about innovative missions here today. And so you in the States, in charge of the digital ministries. Today, I really want to jump in and talk a lot about digital missions. How can we be innovative with digital missions? And so obviously, in different ministries and stuff, we wear lots of hats. I think you have lots of other roles as well. You're, obviously a dad, like you said. Do you make music as well?
I've had seasons of making music. That's right.
Seasons of music.
Yeah.
Yes. I also heard that you're an author as well.
Also seasons of writing.
Seasons of writing.
Yes.
So amazing. So many different things swirling around. I would just love to actually start by hearing your guys' story. How did this journey begin? Because you also have your personal digital influence outside from your work, work life by day, Carlos Erazo by night.
Hopefully they're the same, one and the same.
One and the same.
Yeah.
So walk us through that. What was that journey? Did you ever start in ministry, or was it starting in just social media type stuff?
Yeah. When I was in college as a sophomore, I'm a young millennial, Monty. So
a young millennial.
This is 2011. I discovered the YouTuber, and basically I've always loved video and digital art, but when I was a sophomore, I discovered people were doing that intentionally to actually give content to people. And I thought, man, I think I could do that. But also, I've always been passionate about sharing my faith with my friends in El Salvador.
Amazing.
And so started uploaded a YouTube video every single week. Basically, I decided to commit to do that for the longest time because I wanted to share my faith with my friends in El Salvador. And so did that, and then felt like God was calling me to do it. I was in college. I was an econ and communications major. And then before graduating college, I felt God was calling me to do that full time. And so that's what we did. Always considered myself a missionary at heart, an evangelist. And so passionate about sharing my faith. And so since then, we've had, my wife and I, Brooke, who's in the room over here, and she's amazing at social media and digital strategy as well. We've had, we've created content with the purpose of discipling people and sharing our faith with other people. And so we've been doing this for now 13 plus years.
Wow.
And then part of our story is at some point, we felt like we were isolated. And so we just needed a community. And really, we started praying for God to give us a church. And this is where we found Lakepointe, and we just basically knocked on Lakepointe's door and said, hey, we're here to serve. However way we can be helpful, we're here to do it. And this is where I accepted the role of a church online pastor in 2020.
Hey.
Which was a very interesting year to be a church online pastor.
Indeed.
And this is what we've been doing since then, man. We've just been helping out and passionate about helping the church and leveraging social media to disciple people and tell other people about Jesus.
Wow. I guess there's really two directions that we could go. One is leveraging the church's social media, and another one is leveraging your personal social media. So maybe let's start with that one, because you guys maybe have been doing that one the longest. You said it started with the desire to reach your friends.
Yes.
How have you discovered like making that work well? Because I think if you asked like anyone on the street, I think most times people will be like, if you could be a YouTuber, would you want to be? And most people will be like, yeah, especially this young generation.
Yeah.
So how was it that you guys were able to find success in that? Because you mind if I ask how many followers you have on Instagram or YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, 250,000, 500,000. I mean, depends on the platform. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't happen overnight. That takes many years of dedication and commitment and honing your skills. So what was that like for you guys? Like finding, let's say, success, because success could be relative, but what was that for you?
Well, really for us, man, just passionate about telling other people about Jesus. I mean, for me, before going on social media, I was always passionate about doing Bible studies. So even in El Salvador, when I was in high school, I was very involved in church. And every Thursday, I would just be passionate about sharing a message in a very small group. And so when I started making YouTube videos, really for me, it was just an extension of what I used to do before, except now I just did it in front of a camera. And so I started making videos in my dorm, film myself. And for me, it was like a little Bible study. And before, for like 6 years, I basically did that. And we've had like 10 to 15 friends show up. And now you just upload it on YouTube. And, you know, for me, it was like all of a sudden it's like 50 people. It's like, no, it's not 15, it's 50.
Yeah.
And so, and then, you know, over time, that's just how it's grown. And then really, we've also just experienced with creativity, have fun with it. Social media is always changing. And then we just try to be creative in how do we share this message? How do we contextualize the message? That's what every good missionary does, just to contextualize the message of the gospel to reach more people.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's so cool hearing that you had that journey as well. And it wasn't like you were trying to be famous or like be this big YouTuber or anything like that. It's just being faithful with the small things.
That's right. Well, at the end of the day, I think people ask me like, how should I do it? And you know, I would say, man, is God calling you to do it? And so if God is calling you to do something, then absolutely, at the end of the day, he's calling you to be faithful, not famous, right? And so you want to be faithful in doing what God has called you to do. And the reason we still do it after all these years is because we believe God is still calling us to do it. And then whatever we've learned on our social media platforms, on our personal pages, we also just want to use it to help the church. And so it's cool for me because it seems like it's a little bit of like an R&D. We try things on our own, and then if it works, oh great, let's apply this to the church.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love that because it's like you're still anchored to the church while you're doing this. I feel maybe some of the pitfalls perhaps of people wanting to do something online is like if you get a taste of followers, a taste of likes, then it goes to your head, and then kind of people find themselves in these weird corners of, you know, thought. But staying anchored in the local church, how important do you think that is?
Yeah, well, huge. Well, I was gonna say it can. At the end of the day, you know, people do. We all have a desire to be known, to be appreciated, and so I think social media gives us a false idea of, you know, people admiring you, and so to be rooted in church at the end of the day is necessary. Again, part of our story is we had a lot of views. We're doing a lot of different cool things, and we loved it. We're grateful for it, but we weren't known by people. And I've heard it said before: you can either be impressive or you can be known, but you can't be both. At the end of the day, we were created for community, and I think when your only community is just in social media or just the people online, and you're not connected to people around you, it's going to be lacking. At some point, you're going to feel it. And as a follower of Jesus, you were not created to follow Jesus in isolation. You were created for community. And so that's something that my wife and I, we've discovered more and more over time, that, man, we want to leverage social media and be intentional in connecting with people. And at the same time, we also just want to be intentional in like being rooted in the church. I also think, man, you know, when people do something on social media, it's easy to like have a wide reach, but sometimes you lack depth. And that's something that I think my wife and I, we've learned that just connected to the church, man, this is where we get to, you know, grow in our depth, be surrounded by people that are much mature than we are, and learn from them as well.
Right. Yeah. Was there any maybe, I don't know, mistakes or like things along the way, like hard lessons that you guys learned in that, like, you know, using your personal social media for the gospel, or even just, you know, for monetary purposes or whatever?
Yeah. Many mistakes, I'm sure. I mean, I could probably list you many. One of the things I think today on social media, there's a lot of people creating content, and it's always a good thing to be under authority. And I don't know that I was, and there were multiple seasons where I don't know that I was. And again, this is where like, man, I started making videos when I was like 20.
Right.
And so when you're a young, passionate 20-year-old telling people, teaching the Bible, obviously, man, there's going to be some things that you're not going to get right. Sure. And so this is where, you know, we just needed to be, again, I just needed other people that were godlier and more mature than me to be able to, you know, come with me and help me understand some things. And at the same time, correct me when I needed correction.
Right.
And so, again, that's something that when I see somebody that's young and that's passionate, I'm like, man, let's go get it. But make sure that you get somebody near you that's like older, more mature, that can help you, you know, be there with you, walk with you as well.
Wow.
And so that would be one.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So if anyone, let's say, maybe watching this and they feel like you're talking about, they feel a calling, they feel a passion to maybe, you know, combine being evangelistic, but also using whatever skills that they have, whether they're technical or creative, combining those things, how would you encourage someone like that to start?
Yeah.
Maybe they don't know what to do.
Yeah, so one, I would just ask, hey, if somebody is like, man, I would love to start something, I would say, man, it's God calling you to do it, right? You don't want to be successful at something that you have not been called to do.
Yeah.
That's a mistake that, you know, again, we even with my wife, we ask, hey, you know, just because we've been doing this for a while doesn't mean that we're just going to keep doing it. We want to ask, are we in the right season? Are we in the right place?
That's great.
Two, I would say, once you identify that God has given you that calling, I would just say, it's natural to feel fear, or it's like, man, should I do it? But I'm not a good speaker, or I don't know what I'm doing. At that point, you need to just start with what you have.
Right.
Some people would say, I don't have the right gear or the right equipment. But God's going to provide that over time. And everybody has some fears that they have to overcome before you start a project. When I started making videos, this is 2011. This is before the iPhone had, this is literally right after the iPhone had released the front-facing camera. Then it was awkward to film yourself. Today is a little more accepted.
Sure.
But it was just awkward to put a camera and then, you know, like go live and say, hey, what's up, guys? And like nobody's watching, you know? And so it's like, you have to get over that fear because God is giving you a calling.
Wow.
And then three, I would just say, enjoy it, have fun.
Yeah.
And then also you will learn as you do what you do. And so it's okay to do things poorly because the goal is for you to get better and better.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I definitely think in this day and age, using digital means to reach more people is probably one of the greatest ways that we could evangelize to a lost world. And especially here in our context in Japan, where less than 1% of the population, 125 million people live in Japan, and less than 1% believes in Jesus.
That's wild to me, by the way.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. Did you know that? Like you grew up here, Monty.
I did, yeah.
Did you know that? Is that a thing that you were aware of?
Maybe not so much, because when I moved here, I was 9.
Yeah.
I think my parents, obviously, like they had a massive dream, a vision to reach the lost in Japan.
Yes.
And they just simply said yes to the vision. And what I do remember was that it was fairly difficult in that first year specifically, especially as a 9-year-old. Like my biggest concern was like, I'm gonna have to give up my pet dog in Australia.
Sure. Yeah,
my friends like can't see grandma.
Yes. I'm glad that you clarified that your dog is your pet and not, you know. Yeah.
It's, you know, we're keeping it real. But, you know, like that was probably more the concerns. But I didn't really have much of a framework of the lostness of Japan or the Japanese. As I grew older, I began to appreciate what my parents really sacrificed to come here to reach these people. And now that same vision and dream that they have has become the same for me. And I'm just trying to think now in 2025, 23 years later, like how can we scale the gospel?
Yeah.
How can we build up? How can we reach more people? Because we have different various ways of doing outreach and reaching people through, I guess, like the church's means. But thinking like, man, that's going to take a long time if we see the same fruit and result, which we do, but it's going to take a long time to really make a dent in this nation. So that's why I love hearing your story of leveraging your own personal social media to really scale out and scale up the reach that a good Christian person could have.
Well, it's funny because when we were first talking about this conversation, you told me that 1% of Japan, and you said, man, I know some people hear that and they get discouraged. And I said, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's the best opportunity. That means like there's 99% chance of like you going and like people are going to come and you're going to hear. Yeah. And so that's an opportunity right there.
Yeah, no, I really want to say thank you because this was back in November.
Yeah, I remember that.
We're filming in June. But that time I was struggling with these thoughts of like, how do we scale? Like, what can we do? Are we able to do something? Little old us, like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of mentality. And I said, there's not an audience for the gospel. And then you looked at me and you're like, yeah, the same thing. What are you talking about? You can create an audience.
Yeah.
The whole world, like the whole population can be an audience.
Yeah.
And that really lit a fire in my heart. That one simple word from you really lit a fire. I'm like, man, I got to change the way that I think. I got to change the way that I see this, how I see the opportunities, the means, the digital ways that we can do things.
Yeah, man.
And we can create audience. We can create opportunity.
That's right.
And so I really appreciate the heart that you have for that personally.
And Montique, if I can interrupt.
Absolutely.
And I think you're paving the way. I think you're paving the way for so many other people that will look at you in Japan and say like, oh, he's doing it. Man, let's do it too. And you guys are going to do it together.
Come on. I really believe for that. Because the more people in Japan that can make not just Christian content, because when we say Christian content, people think, I'll write a verse a day. Okay, that's nice. You can do that.
Shout out to the people writing a verse a day.
A verse a day. That's
thank
wild.
You so much for that.
That's
awesome.
Amazing. You're doing the Lord's work.
Let's go.
But you know what I mean? Just Christians presenting their life, presenting something positive, a positive message is what this world is crying out for, is what this generation, this society is crying out for. So I don't believe that us as Lifehouse Church are going to be the ones to like change it. But if more and more Christians as a whole can really mobilize and get their personal, good news out there, then maybe when the Japanese people see their Instagram or TikTok or YouTube more populated with this similar looking content, it might change how they view Christianity or God or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited to see that. And I'm encouraged to see as well that you guys, what you are doing as a church, so personally, you guys are doing an incredible thing, but as a church, leveraging your guys' social media has been like pretty incredible to watch. So me and my wife, shout out to Lakepointe's podcast, but we do watch you guys every week.
That's awesome.
But it's really incredible to hear the conversations and see the incredible reach that you guys have. So let's talk maybe a little bit now on encouraging the church to leverage social media as a whole.
Yeah.
What is your guys' philosophy? What is your guys' mentality around encouraging churches? Hey, we have a whole field right here. Let's get involved.
Yeah, so the way we see social media, and there's different ways to see social media today as a church, but one of the ways is when in Acts chapter 17, the Apostle Paul, he goes to this place called Mars Hill. And this is basically a place where like everybody's discussing philosophies, ideas. The Bible literally says everybody comes together here to discuss the new ideas. And Paul comes with the gospel. And everybody's curious because they're like, well, we've never heard this one before. And so they're asking, and this is an opportunity for him to engage. The way we see social media, I think churches have seen social media in the past as like a billboard only, or like this other communication piece, which again, it can be. But the way, what it is today is like the new Mars Hill of our time. This is the place where everybody is talking about all the things, sharing things, fashion, entertainment, music. And so if that's true, I think we have a biblical responsibility to take the gospel and take the message of Jesus to that space, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or whatever it is. And so we see that as a responsibility on our end as Christians. But then also, we believe strongly, man, we have services for 1 hour a week for anybody that comes in. We have multiple services, but for somebody that comes in, that's 1 hour a week. Then there's like the rest of the week where people kind of like are being discipled by social media, all the influencers, all the music, all the things. That's a good word.
And so we would just have a pretty strong conviction that if the church doesn't disciple people, the world will. And so we can't expect our people in church to be formed into the character of Christ if we are discipling them for 1 hour or whatever.
and then they spend like 21 hours on social media the rest of the week, and they're getting discipled by the latest, artists that they listen to, or the movies, the TV shows, all the things. And so we see that as with that approach, and we consider ourselves, we want to be digital apostles, digital missionaries. And this is how we kind of see what we do in terms of like our podcast, in terms of like other content on social media, videos, reels. We're trying to basically have that mentality of we're here to tell you about Christ as digital disciples.
That's amazing. And even your senior pastor, Josh, as well, like his social media is like blowing up these days. I hear that you're actually the man behind the curtain,
That would be the Holy Spirit.
That would be the Holy Spirit. But like, I do hear that you've definitely helped maybe change his own personal thinking and his own personal view on how to use social media. Can you maybe like walk us through what some of those conversations look like between you and a senior pastor about the importance of this?
Yeah, I think again, there's a little bit of a stigma. I'm a young millennial again. He's a less young millennial, so he's a little bit older than me. He's like a decade ahead of me. And so especially with the older generation, there's a little bit of like if you film yourself, you're just trying to be famous, or like you're just trying to like get attention. And again, at the end of the day, man, if we're just trying to make disciples and we're trying to reach more people, social media can be an amazing tool. And so I think with Pastor Josh, just having some of the conversations of the philosophy overall of what social media is, that is not just like a communication piece, which is it can be, which is awesome. We will definitely good for that, but it's also this opportunity, this missionary space for us that we have today, that we need to leverage, that we need to use it, that we have to call it to be light for the sake of the discipleship of our people. And so with Pastor Josh, we, like a year and a half ago or something like that, we also started making videos where, because people value authenticity, and I hear that here in Japan, this is like a thing.
This is a thing.
I think sometimes in churches we can have everything well produced, which is great, but I think there's also a space for like a raw, grab your iPhone and just like start sharing like a message. And so that's what we did. And he is actually very gifted communicator.
Very good.
And so we tried doing like little like 60 to 90 second clips of him sharing a little message, and a bunch of those videos have really resonated. We wanted to, sometimes the church can speak about issues that sometimes like people outside the church they're not really connecting, but they will listen to about like cultural issues or things that are very pressing and sometimes controversial or difficult to understand. And so to have a pastor to be able to speak from a biblical perspective on some of these issues is actually extremely insightful and helpful. And so Pastor Josh is very good at seeing culture through the lens of Scripture. And so we will say this, we want to apply the text of a never-changing Word of God to the ever-changing context of the world. And so when we do that, people inside the church listen, but then people outside the church as well. And so God has used these videos that have gone pretty crazy viral to, just people finding who Lakepointe is. And today is really cool to see just people that show up to our church saying, oh, I found you on Instagram because of a reel from your pastor. And again, once you start getting like literally millions of views, because some of these videos are crazy viral, just people start hearing about your church, and they start hearing, we always want to encourage people to take a next step. And so they're on Instagram, great, we'd love for you to join Church Online. And then Church Online, we'd love for you to come visit. And then they come visit, and on and on it goes.
Wow, that's so good. So you guys are seeing like direct fruit from, even though it might be like a person or a pastor, a person speaking online, people are seeing that more than they're seeing the church's social media, perhaps.
Definitely. Yeah. And, at the end of the day, this is psychology as well. People will more likely follow people than they'll follow organizations on social media. Right. And they want to connect with somebody, not so much with like a place first. And so that's another thing that we're just aware of. And we wanted, this is a shift we did a couple of years ago when we decided to basically like, instead of just using the church's social media, we wanted to leverage Pastor Josh's social media. And this is things that I've happened to learn as well, just working on my own stuff as well before. Right. And so far, by the grace of God, Monty, his platform has grown significantly in the last year and a half.
Wow,
Which is crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good to see. And so I guess lastly, if there's any encouragement that you would have to offer to, say, a church leader, a church pastor, maybe they're on the fence about this whole like leveraging social media thing. Maybe they're not close to the fence at all. They've been on the other side of the fence. But maybe, hopefully they hear conversations like this, testimonies of how people are coming through the door because of good strategies with social media.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone like that to encourage them? Maybe like some of those early conversations you had with Pastor Josh. What would you say to a pastor thinking about these things? Why don't you take that step?
For sure. Yeah, I think, when you watch your screen and you see views on YouTube, those are not views, they're people, right? And when you post something and you see the comments, they're not just comments, they're like souls. And so at the end of the day, we're called to make disciples. Today, that's what Jesus said in Matthew 28. I believe the most influential form of discipleship today can be through social media. And so at the end of the day, if the church doesn't disciple people, somebody else will. The devil is happy to disciple your people. If you and I as a church are not leaning and learning, and we don't have all the answers. And so social media changes every day, and so we have to maintain a posture of like, what's working today might not work tomorrow, but we're here to learn. And so there's a sense in which a healthy, holy curiosity should be present in, I believe, in pastors and churches. And we talk to pastors. Maybe that might look differently for some. For some, it might be jumping in front of a camera. Other might say, you know what, I'm not that guy. That's okay. You don't have to be a guy in front of the camera. You can be a writer. You can leverage other people. You can empower a team.
Right.
I would say there are Gen Z people in your church that are probably already doing it. You just have to like deploy them and empower them. And there's skilled people all around you. That's literally the body of Christ. We have different members. Some people are better at doing other things than others. And this is how we operate. And so definitely would encourage our listeners to, consider like, how are you leveraging social media for the gospel, and what else does God want to do through you and your church via the opportunities that we have today that we might not actually have tomorrow, because technology changes all the time.
That's true.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Carlos, for your time and for your wisdom. I really believe that this would be an encouragement to everyone that's watching or listening. Make sure you tune in next time to hear more innovative ways to do missions wherever you are, wherever you're watching from. And so we hope you have a great time. Be blessed. Hi, thank you for joining us today. We hope this episode was interesting and helpful to you. If it was, you can let us know by rating, reviewing, sharing, and commenting on the episode. That'll help us know what you're enjoying and what topics we should focus on in the future. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to get these episodes as soon as they drop every month. And we'll see you in the next episode of The Rodcast.